You know it's super fly when Day Bar is opened. Hip-hop review, news, plus breaking new artists, pop culture, current events with an urban view of it. This is all things hip-hop, delivered raw, unpolitically correct, the fans' perspective, putting all artists in check. Dope content, current hot by remarkable men. Our thoughts, clearly. Welcome to Audio Theory.
Yo, welcome back to the Audio Theory podcast. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe as well as the like button. Before we introduce our special guest, what's good, Danny? How you been?
I'm doing great, man. Working on a Sunday. Mimosa breath is coming through, so hopefully that's not obvious to everybody. But how are you, man?
Chilling. Just wrapped up an engagement party yesterday. We don't have to waste time on that, but for obvious reasons, feeling good. Excited though, because we have a special guest. He goes by BOA. I actually know him as Cole. So for some context, I still don't understand or know the full story of how we even met over the internet like 10, 11, 12 years ago. Probably like on my YouTube channel or something. I don't really remember, but we used to pass beats and like verses back and forth.
Nice. That's right.
And then he popped up on my Facebook feed with his new single, San Tropez, which is super fire. And then long story short, we kind of reconnected over that. So pleasure to have you, man. Feel free to introduce yourself and, let the people know who you are.
Yeah, no, dude, I appreciate you guys having me. As you were saying, my name is BOA. That's an important one for me, just right off the hop, because that's actually an acronym that I had. It wasn't so to touch on what you were talking about, when we had connected in the past, I was going by the name of Lincoln, and I believe you were called Chemic at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, switched up the names obviously since then. So BOA, long story short, for better onward always. And when I started getting back into music, rather, because I took a bit of a hiatus there, there was a lot of things changing for me in life at that point. So I kind of wanted to tie in music with that and just be like, this is going to be part of something bigger for me, like all together. So I wanted a name that I was going to be able to ride with just to the wall. So I've been doing, we've got 3 singles out now. San Tropez was the first. Batman with a friend of mine, Adam Daly, and then If I Told You. So I'm pretty proud of them, and we got the ball rolling. Happy to be back.
Nice, man.
Sounds good, man.
All the songs were great. Blair put me on like a month ago, so definitely kudos to you, man. The songs all hit hard, all produced by your boy Angie as well.
Yeah, that guy's a monster. I don't know, he does everything.
Yeah, literally.
That's wild.
I'm grateful to have him, and especially having known him as long as I have. I was thinking about this a little earlier. It's kind of a little perk because we have that personal connection and history. So going into making music with someone who knows you on that kind of level, I feel like that really resonates. It comes out in the music, especially with me and him.
Fire.
For sure. We'll jump into music heavy stuff and obviously your background in a second. We kind of like to let throw some easy questions out there just to get the nerves down for everyone. So super easy ass question for you. Drake or The Weeknd?
As I'm drinking out of a Tim Hortons coffee, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. The most Canadian question ever.
I'm gonna say Drake. It's not like it's not close, but he's a big one for me in general. So that's my pick.
All right.
Nice. Not mad at it. How about Jay-Z or Nas?
See, I thought this one might come up because I saw you guys ask Angie this one. That's a really tough one, and I'm still kind of pondering on it just because I'm big with the lyrics. It's really big with my own writing. Is based off that, and Nas is just an animal. And we'll always you can't dispute that. But Jay-Z also had that flash and that kind of more mainstream, just status that I really admired too. So I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna say Nas. I'm gonna take that route actually.
I like it. Do you remember how old you were when the whole Ether dropped? How was that? How did you take that in? Especially in Canada?
I remember when I first heard it. It was well after the fact, but when I was getting into literally it was around that time actually when I was just even getting kind of into hip hop and learning about the origins and who was who and did what. Yeah, I remember hearing it then and just thinking like, is this what I'm about to get into? Like this stuff like set the bar pretty high, right? So no, that was crazy. I love seeing that stuff. Like, I mean, just that competitive nature it keeps a fire burning from a whole different place, man. I love seeing that stuff. It can go too far, I think, sometimes, but I mean, if it's in a good nature like that too, it's just, I don't know. It's good to see it go off sometimes.
Yeah, especially like two juggernauts at the time as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right. You ever been in California, had In-N-Out fries before?
No, I've never been out to Cali. I've had a few invitations, actually. I don't know why. I guess I put it off, and now with everything being so difficult to get out there. But
Sure.
no, I've never even really heard of that, to be honest.
Okay, we'll put you on when you come to visit us when you're touring.
Yeah.
So just explain to the people why poutine is fire, and when they come out to Toronto, they need to check it out.
Oh man, poutine is, jeez. I gotta say it. I know that Angela said the same thing, but again, we're from the same city. And we're best friends at that, so similar interests. But Smoke's Poutineery, this place is something else. Like they have like this pierogi poutine, like all like if you name it, even things that you don't think should be in a poutine, they do it. But it works, man. So that's once places like that come out and they're game changers. That shifts my focus to the poutine more than anything else. But
Yeah.
all right. Try this. What are you talking about?
Nice.
And I'm gonna throw a new one out there. I don't want to blow your cover, but I did want to ask Beyonce or Rihanna musically. We're talking straight music. Straight music.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna say Beyonce. Yeah,
Nice.
I would say Beyonce. You know what? I haven't, for someone who makes music, I haven't been to nearly enough concerts, which is something that hopefully, when things normalize a little bit, that would be something I can look forward to. But ironically enough, Beyonce was actually one. It was due to a woman or a girl I was with at the time, but it was an amazing show, and just like there's no doubting that she's incredibly talented. But just seeing it in her all in perspective, like down there watching the show, it was incredible. And so she definitely kind of hit me from a different place after that. But yeah, no, Beyonce for sure.
I can see that. I find just like musically, like it's a different bar kind of.
Yeah, it's so hard to really hold too many to that name, right? For as far as it goes, and there's people of that for every music genre, but yeah, no, she's up there.
Cool, man.
Nice.
All right, appreciate you entertaining us with that curveball, crazy stuff. Let's get into the music and obviously why you're on today. So your journey, man. So like, when did this start? And like, what were the ups and downs? What made you change your name initially? And then when did you decide to actually come back, now as BOA?
It all really started, excuse me, it's hilarious with I have to try to call him Angelo just because I call him Miguel all the time, but for this. But when he was actually going under a completely different producer name at the time too, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. It was something strange, but anyways, he just messaged me out of nowhere because we were best friends growing up from like elementary, lost track a bit in high school. And he's like, "Hey, I hear you're making music under this name Lincoln." And I was like, "Yeah, I meant to reach out to you too. I see that you're doing beats and stuff. That's great." And he's like, why haven't we just linked up and made something out of this yet? And I'm like, I have no idea. I literally went there that evening and we started. And from then, like with pretty well consistency, up until now, we're talking years of just like, I mean, this desktop garage band that we were using, man, was something you'd cry at if you saw you did. Like it was a block, and but it's a learning process, man. So we started there. I moved away from Barrie, where I live again now, where Angela lives. I moved to Hamilton, which is closer to Toronto, but in that same direction. It's about 40 minutes out from where we are. And I lived there for about 4 or 5 years. And that's has a huge influence on my music, especially the rebranding. Learned a lot about myself out there, and just a lot about music, and just changed my perspective on a lot of things. So coming back, I wanted to kind of have a very clear display of how I now saw where I wanted to go, and reflect my new goals and my new ambitions, and essentially who I was coming back. back home to Barrie. So I wanted my music to really be my partner on that, and have my songs kind of just have that sound, have it develop into something that's a little more mature, has maybe another layer of skin on it. So yeah, that's pretty much brought us to now, man. We've been having a lot of fun with it. So we got some crazy stuff coming up too. So I know everybody says that, but I mean it. Tim Hortons coffee.
I believe you. So question for you though. So what made you, because I know Blair's mentioned in the past, like he took a break from music because he wanted to like, you know, do the normal adult thing, get a job, and like it kind of just called him back. So what made you take the break? And then also what made you want to come back?
It was very similar. Just me, you know, I had gotten into a pretty serious relationship at the time too, for what I think was probably at that time the first time that it come to that, really kind of like that long span. And it just took my focus elsewhere. Yeah, life kind of happened. You know, I was too busy learning new shit, and but the thing is, even to that degree, like I always wrote. I've never stopped writing. Like I can consistently say, like, I mean, since grade 5, grade 6, as crappy as they probably were, I wouldn't want to read them now, but I've been writing since then. I always do. It's my me time. If I'm going for a walk, if I'm whatever, you know, anything that comes to mind, I'm throwing it in my phone. And I can credit a lot of songs to that. So, yeah, no, it's been good, but just in regards to going forward with writing and stuff, like I was writing a lot, but I wasn't recording, I wasn't putting out music. And Angelo Blossom was just on my ass. Like just as soon as I came back, he's like, you can't tell me nothing. Like we're making music, we're gonna get back into it. And Sancho Fe I had hung out with him once when I moved back. Before that, we went in, made the beat from scratch, and did it right then and there in like a couple hours. Like it was like the chemistry nothing hit it. And that's a beautiful feeling, man. So yeah, that was pretty much it, bro. It's to now.
Awesome. Nice. What inspired that song specifically?
You know what? That was just a fun song to make, and it was just when I was talking with him about that, it was kind of, for me, it was like, this is just me coming back in with I'm loose, I'm having fun. You know what I mean? Like I'm not treating it like, I have a competitive nature to a degree, and I like that because I feel like it keeps me moving forward in anything I do. But just came back, I just wanted to have something that has some bounce and just a head beep or head bop, sorry, you know what I mean? And just kind of, and I'm proud of that song. I love it. I think that I was proud of the bars I put into it, and I just wanted to just play some of that stuff too, right? Just kind of like dipping your toes in the water.
Yeah, that song was super. That's why I was like, so at first I wasn't even sure if like it was you or you reposting some like famous dude who I'd never heard of, because the name was different. The production was on point, the lyrics were on point, the just the sound of the vocals and everything. So like when you came back, I was almost curious if maybe you had been doing this for the past 10 years consistently, and like just so happened to like start promoting music, and I for some reason missed all your old shit or something.
We just that's kind of what I was talking about, even in that regard too. Like I appreciate that, but that's what I feel the same way. Like we didn't really skip a beat. We just, no pun intended, but I came back and we just kind of went right back into it.
Yeah. Just
like, and that was even more reassuring to me. That's like, yeah, like this is comfy. Like I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So, yeah, man, I couldn't be more grateful for how it's been going, especially since I came back.
Dope. Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah. Sure.
Nice. And then like obviously like everyone, like the obvious thing being Canada, I know Drake has like 40, like that's his go-to for everything, right? Do you envision you and Angelo being like that? Like is he gonna be producing everything for you moving forward, or the majority of your stuff?
Yeah, we always compared, like not even compared, but like tried to model after a lot of the way that they plays and their dynamic that they have even. I actually was fortunate enough to meet 40 actually after a Drake show once, which was just wild, but really smart guy, really nice dude. So yeah, like Miguel is Angelo, he's like that for me, but it's because like Drake didn't just meet 40 after he was already like the Drake that we know. It wasn't like that, you know, he was coming up with them. So who knows if we'd even be listening to the same Drake right now if there wasn't. Sure. Even if he was at the same level of fame, it could be a totally different style of music. So, and that's definitely to credit to Angelo too. I've looked at some other beats and producers and stuff like that. There's some really great fire that's just getting thrown out there, and I think a lot of guys deserve recognition. For now, I've just worked mostly with Angelo, but we'll see what happens with that going forward. I'm not opposed to it.
Awesome.
And did how's like the quarantine played a role in your music making and, you know, diving back into it and everything? Did things just happen to coincide that way, or did you find yourself having more time to actually focus on like putting out music and stuff like that?
With quarantine, quarantine was like I was still living in Hamilton when it really got like bad, like the first bad lockdown that we experienced over here at the time. And you know, even at that point, I knew I was coming home soon, and I had some feelings and some things were going on, and that's a big thing for me too. Is like I find I will typically write almost always, if not at least more, when I'm going through something, as opposed to just kind of sitting and just writing, I don't know, whatever people's methods are to keep sharp or something like that. Like if I don't really have it, I don't have it. So I was writing quite a bit coming into moving home. Like I had some stuff that I was sitting on, and you know, certain parts have been used for certain things. So yeah, it's been pretty consistent that way.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
How's life been in general for you in Hamilton and Barrie now, like just in Canada this past year? Like how, like just you going about your normal day to day, like have you appreciated this alone time, or like you kind of miss just like the open nature of stuff? My alone time, anybody who knows me knows my alone time is like so key. It's just part of how I balance everything out. I'm a very reflective person. I've always been that way. I feel like that's the easiest way to learn more about yourself. At least it has been for me. So I like to have that time to decompress and to think about what's going on. If I'm pissed off about something, instead of acting on it, have that time to think like why, or you know, if I'm upset or any which way. So my music, that's when that's born. Is during those times when it's just me. I'm unplugged. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm just, except for music purposes, I'm just plugged in. And that's been really good in that regard. Having that me time's been good. Everything else has been really good though, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm fortunate enough to work, like my full-time job is kind of kept pretty steady throughout the lockdowns and everything since moving here. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be closer to family again. The winters here are a bitch. I'll say it as it is, and it's crazy because like I mean it's insane what like being 40 minutes south will do, even just in Ontario with the brutal, like the Hamilton winters were nearly as bad. So I do miss that. But yeah, man, just keeping on. That's it.
Nice. And in terms of like artists and producers and stuff that are inspirations to you, do you have like a select few that you've been keeping an eye on that, you know, you're trying to emulate, or you know, looking at their career, you envision that for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of artists that I've seen that especially the ones that I've followed from really the beginning. Like, I mean, everybody likes to say, like, you know, oh yeah, I've been listening to Drake, for example, and man, his name's gonna come up way too many times in this. I knew that was gonna happen.
That's fine.
But yeah, like everybody says that they listen to him from the beginning, and that's like, oh yeah, like So Far Gone, and I'm like no, like Room for Improvement, like his first, like we're talking like Degrassi when he was really in it. And I've listened to everything he's done since then, obviously up until now. So like there's a really deep appreciation for, like, I always wonder where that could have been, different influences. If he didn't hook up with Wayne, if he went with Gucci or something, and he just tried, like, do you know what I mean? Like it could have gone away. So Tori's another big one. But I admire the thing with those guys is, like, I love hearing how other artists talk about them. Like, you get these compilation interview things on YouTube where you got guys up front, left, and center, like reputable dudes talking about how they respect this guy, or his work ethic is crazy, and you know, he's not doing filler songs, like he shuts everybody out, he's got his methods, and you learn about that kind of stuff. And I find you kind of find who you model your drive and your music after a lot of cases, and by hearing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But those are some big ones for me.
would you say the because obviously Canada has a much bigger spotlight now that Drake and Tory and people like In the Weeknd and Justin Bieber and all those guys have taken off? Do you find yourself paying close attention to the Canadian hip hop scene more so than the US hip hop scene, or is it kind of half and half? Like, just curious if that's become more of a thing for people out in Canada.
It's tough, man. We love our guys, man. Like we're like our guys that are homegrown and really made it. Like you can't go to Toronto and tell them that anybody from out your way is better than one of their guys from the city, right? Like they're proud. They're really, really proud people. It's a really proud culture with Toronto, especially. It's hard. I mean, I pay attention to everybody. I love finding, nothing makes me happier than finding a new artist. And I'm like, yo, I want to see what they got coming out next. Obviously I got my go-tos, but I mean, I get a lot of influence from different genres too. That's another thing. Like, I mean, I'm actually the only one really in my family that got into hip hop. Like my dad was like, from their age groups, it was like 80s music. My mom was listening to like Rage Against the Machine and like Tool. I had grandparents that listened to country music. Like I had picking and choosing and learning of what all these different artists brought in, like really thickened my perspective on music. And that's influenced my music in a lot of ways too. I have a lot of artists that aren't hip hop artists necessarily that I love listening to.
Like who? Like what other genre are you listening to right now?
Right now, I won't lie to you, I have been plugged in more into hip hop than ever, just because I'm working on some stuff and I like to kind of curate to that. But like, I mean, I was thinking even just the other day, like female singers that I thought were really talented, just kind of on a whim, and like Hayley Williams from Paramore, the front woman for that. I think she's incredibly talented, you know. Then going from that, you could even mention Florence Welch, who's the singer for Florence and the Machine, which is like alternative rock, right?
Yeah, I was listening to Maggie Rogers like albums the other day. Like she's super talented. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I love that though. Like I like that for whatever reason I just wasn't turned off to having different tastes and kind of seeing what's out there, man. Because it's so cool to get a different idea or creative stroke from something that's way out of your way like that. So yeah, there's influence everywhere. Are there some Canadian acts that you feel like people should know more about, obviously besides yourself?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of ones that, like, I mean, in my immediate circle, I'll mention them again because they deserve it, but definitely Adam Daly. He's featured with me on Bedman. Great guy. I know him well. Great artist, great ideas. Evans is another one in our circle, and he's I don't see him quite as much. He's more out in Toronto. We've linked up quite a few times though too, just through Angelo, knowing him and stuff. So those are my guys. We've been, like I said, when we kind of plug in, we just it's the blinders on, like I'm horse racing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that's just what works for us. So we do stick to our kind of, we keep it tight knit, but it's worked. It's got us this far, so I'm rolling with it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Dope. And do you have like any goals or milestones you're hoping to reach either this year or the next few years, like a very rigid I don't know, number of streams, listeners, songs? Like how are you planning ahead for your own music career?
I don't know if I've made like any goals in regards to the numbers yet. See, that was another thing with me too, was even when me and Angela were doing the music before, I didn't promote it. I really didn't. I didn't really even show it to people a lot. Like we'd be at like parties and I would just be talking to someone and I'd hear it playing. I'd look over and he'd give me this look. And I'm like, wait, man, like I didn't show it. Like I didn't care. I did it from what it did for me. As selfish as it may sound, in the beginning stages, it was an outlet for me. So if I was writing anyhow and I could work with this art that he has in making the music and make that something bigger, then sure, let's do it. It wasn't about followers and any of that stuff. I mean, if it comes with it, great. But like I would stand behind Stronger, a song that I can listen to 5 years from now. And even if it's not something that would be bumping anymore, or it's not in, knowing that like I know what that song was for me when I wrote that, and was like, I'm gonna name it this. The album cover art's gonna be like this. This is maybe the idea for a video. Like there's there's depth behind everything I'm putting out. So that's the most important thing for me. I would love, the short answer, I'd love to make an album. Angelo just gets mad all the time because I keep bugging him about making one soon. He's like, you gotta put out more singles because we're just starting, and I get that. So so we got some crazy stuff coming up in the works too that I'm really, really excited to show you guys. And yeah, so hopefully that'll probably be the big shooter after that. Probably put out a bit more material and see how it goes, and then I want to work on a project.
Sweet.
Nice. So you said, like, you kind of just hinted at, are you very like in control of everything, like as far as like your social's concerned? Like, is there like a deep thought process behind every post? Like, hey, let me not post shit like this on this page. Like how involved are you?
Yeah, it's 100%. It's myself and Angelo helps me pretty much side by side, as I do with him. We bounce stuff off each other, obviously. But no, it's entirely up to us. I mean, a lot of the photos are taken even just by us or people in our media circles and stuff like that. So, but it's good. I like having that control, especially coming in on a rebranding kind of stance. I got really picky, man, like real specific. And I was like, I want this, and this is where this idea could go. And he's like, slow down. But no, it was really important to me to have control when I wanted to implement this new brand of myself. It all had to be right. So I'm proud of what we've done so far. So
I think what's dope, I think you just hear it, like it seems like just like your group, like your circle's just so like, it's just helping you be more creative than maybe what happened in the past, right? Like, this just seems like very like conducive to what you're trying to do right now. Absolutely,
man. Yeah, no, they're crazy supportive. It's awesome when you got guys like that. It makes everything easier. So I'm super grateful for that.
Awesome, man.
And I know one of the things that came up when we were interviewing Angelo was kind of just the pressure of time and how none of us are getting any younger. We're obviously much older now. Like,
yeah,
he said that. And that resonated with me as well, because I just surpassed 30, and when you think of hip hop, especially now, like there's Kid Leroy and people like that who are like 17 and shit, breaking all these records, and then you kind of sit back and think to yourself, like, am I too old for this? So has age ever been a concern, or for you is it more so just as long as you're putting out music that you like and you feel like is listenable and replayable and meaningful, you're like, I don't really care too much about all that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's something that I'm gonna have to I think give more thought to, honestly, in regards to just, does it bother me that like I'm same age as Angelo, right? Like I'll be 28 in June, so, and even getting back into it in a sense at this age too, when I had already sort of in a sense walked away from it. I don't know. I mean, I think as long as, again, I wasn't doing this with that kind of like, oh, am I going to be rich when I'm 40? Am I going to be rich when I'm 30? Or how many singles am I going to have popped off by this? Like, it wasn't, I didn't look at it that way. I just wanted to keep making music and just doing what I love, but just showing it to people. So, yeah, man, that's the best thing about all this for me. Like, I know, and I feel like a lot of artists say that, and I believe it, but like, genuinely, that's what I get out of this. It's deeper than just putting out a banger. Mind you, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely have to agree with that. And that's why I got back into it. I think quarantine helps because I was seeing people around me pick up hobbies that, I mean, I won't say they're corny, but I was like, oh, this person clearly
they're corny.
Not
you can say it was corny. It was corny.
Okay.
It was corny.
I'm talking about the
cycle or something.
people like baking sourdough and shit and all kinds of random stuff that might have been considered lame, but I was like, you know what? I don't care if I'm old now and want to get back into rapping. Like, I just want to make good music for myself, and if other people like it, cool. I feel you on that one.
Yeah, that, like, even that too is a huge thing with me. And I mean, you and I have even talked about that. Like, it was as I didn't market it. It was also, I think, admitting it was a large part of just like fear. I didn't know what people would think. And I gotta admit that, like, that's what that was. I think I loved it so much that I didn't want anyone to deter me from it by like, I didn't want to hear anything bad about it. And it was like willful ignorance. Like I was just making my music. I was in my space, and that was it. But yeah, like I when I had stopped, that was a big thing too, is like, especially now getting in a little bit older, do people think like, is he just think he's gonna like, people get their own kind of things in their head, right? It's different than, especially with it being so young now, like you touched on that, like with the Kid Leroy and like Mosey, and these guys are like all under 20. I don't know, I mean, it plays a role, but I think at the same time too, like I didn't really picture it going to the extent of being 45 and 50 and being a mogul and stuff. I never really looked at it that way. And people might hate on me for that and think that I'm not a real rapper, I'm not a real hip hop artist, but like I think that it serves a purpose to me. And when that's done, then I'll reevaluate them.
Yeah. Sounds like a good perspective.
So I think you mentioned earlier that I think you were out and I think Angelo played one of your songs or something. Do you feel comfortable like listening to your stuff like once it's out, or you just pretty much like you into it until you put it out and then once it's out you're like next thing?
It's tough. I'm working on that. That's another thing too. I bug like Angelo is okay, but like all our other friends, if we get in the car and they just always throw like Saint-Tropez on, I feel like I'm gonna get sick of it. Like, man, you gotta turn this off. Like I can't stand this dude no more. Yeah, so and it's the same thing. I got family around too, and they like siblings, and they'll run around and be playing it. I'm like, headphones, like don't play that down the road in the other room. Yeah, no, so yeah, I mean, I'll listen to it after. I'll listen to it so much actually before it's released that by the time it is, I'll play it a few times, but I've already mentally picked it the hell out of it and back around 3 times forward. So, no, I just try to let it just kind of play out, and if it comes on or whatever when we're out, then sure. But I don't pay too much attention to the ones after I drop them. Not unless.
And like when it comes to, I know you mentioned you're hoping to do like an album after you put out enough singles to where you're comfortable doing that. But outside of your circle, do you have any like dream collaborations you would love to do? I know I don't want to bring up the man's name again because we'll probably bring it up 100 times, but I think everyone would say Drake, but outside of him. It's funny, man. It's gonna throw a lot of people off, but like I would love to do something with like Tiana Taylor. Okay. And it's funny because like that's how a lot of my music started. Like as good or as bad as it was, we'll leave it alone. But it was like it was R&B. I had huge influences from like R. Kelly and Trey Songz and Chris Brown, and I went through like when they used to do mixtapes every like 3 months, and they had like 20-30 songs on them, right? Like just so many. But I started with that. So I still have deep roots in R&B, very, very much so. A lot of my, even if I told you, as much as it's a bar for bar song, a lot of that was pulled from, you know, kind of influences of R&B songs and things like that I've heard too. So, I don't know, it kind of goes both ways for me with that, but yeah.
Tiana Taylor. Is she like retired right now though, or?
Yeah, she's got to go to retirement to do that track with me though.
Yeah, for you, right? Just for BOA. It's like
I mean, there's a bunch too. The thing is, I'm trying to think of people that like are a little more unconventional. Like I don't want to just say like Drake or Scott, although that would be great. You know, I think another one that would be really, really cool to work with is Russ. And the reason that I think that is just because he's, at least from what I understand, is what Angelo is. Like,
yeah. Dude, we were thinking the same thing, dude.
Yeah,
that's why we wanted to interview Angie so bad, because like, we see like so many similarities.
Yeah, it's wild, and I bring that up with him all the time, and it's hopefully he takes it as a compliment. But yeah, it's incredible. And and it's funny being there too. Like I remember when he didn't know anything, he knew the minimum for what his, you know, where he went with it, and I knew the minimum for like my whatever I went with my vocals, my writing and stuff, like when we were just starting out. And it's incredible what he's learned. He's taught himself. He's going to work with a lot of bigger artists coming up too. So he's got big things coming up.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you already mentioned you guys are working on a few tracks. Are they already done? Can you give us a hint of like the sound? Because we joked around with Angelo that like when we listened to the throwaway files, we're like, yo, who hurt you? Because these are all like, you know, like songs about heartbreak. So like, what's the idea behind your tracks?
I think there's, you know what, to be honest, I think there's you can hear a lot more confidence in them, and just in the vocals, and behind the words that I'm saying and that I'm writing, no less, to begin with, before you're even hearing it. Like you think about the starting process with even the writing and stuff too. It's got a bit of a darker sound to it. We are touching into a little bit with some R&B stuff in that too, a little, dark ambient kind of stuff. But I got one coming out hopefully sooner than later. We're working on it, me and Ange. It's gonna be called Wolves, and it's gonna be a big song that I've been working on this one for a while too, so I'm proud to show everybody that one when it comes out. But yeah, no, there's lots of stuff in the pipes, man.
Nice. And another thing that I always like asking this question, because I think, for one, everyone makes music for different reasons. A lot of people, I do believe, do it for the love of it, but at the same time, everyone wants some degree of recognition. So just curious if from like a fame standpoint, is there a level of fame you would consider ideal, or a level of fame you absolutely don't want? Because obviously some people are more introverted or want more privacy. Other people want to be mentioned all day, every day on the news and kind of be in the spotlight and have 100 Grammys. So curious, I know you mentioned already that, you're making music for yourself, and, if it goes in the right direction, cool. If not, at least you have, art you can look back on. But is there a level of fame that you would deem ideal, or recognition, we can call it?
I think, again, it's not something I've paid a lot of mind to, but I think just approaching the question fresh, I would like to do something big it's not a big city where we are, and there isn't really anyone who's, all due respect to artists that have done their thing from here, and then there's a lot of really great talented people that are going to do great things if they haven't already from here, but there hasn't really been anybody just that is that guy. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sure,
undisputable sort of, or female, whatever, like any, or band even. It's just there's that spots there. So if I was going to strive for something, I'd like to do something on a monumental level for the city. Even do if I got to a point where I was doing like an OVO fest type, like, just to give you some perspective, but like for even, or you know what I mean? Think of ways to start promoting other people's music and stuff like that too. Get to a platform where I can do that. I think that'd be incredible. But yeah, just stuff like that. That's the most immediate thing that at least comes to mind.
Nice.
So for even us and our listeners, and obviously your fans outside of Barrie, so explain Barrie, what makes that so amazing to you besides just being from there? Obviously, what has Barrie given to you that you're the person you are now?
It's always been home. I get that, but I don't know. Even growing up, I'm lucky to be in that age frame still, where when I was a kid, we were still riding bikes
outside.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I really got to see it all at a young age too. I was moving around. I was always outside. I was always doing stuff. So I fell in love with it at a really young age too. And I got to build memories in all these different spots. It was home. It always was home. I like that I had the opportunity to move away from it and approach it with, new air kind of, and see it in a different light. But no, it's always been home. My friends, my family, it's all started here, no matter where it goes. So, that's always gonna be close to me.
Dope.
Nice. And have you ever performed before, or you have any? I guess we don't really have shows right now, but do you plan on it at any point? I have 7 singles, and that's when I'm gonna try to hit up Drake and be part of the OVO tour.
Yeah, no, I was thinking that the other day too. I'm like, and that's the thing. I was scared to do it. I guess I think in a large part, at least, it felt too uncomfortable. I guess I didn't know what I wanted to do with the music at the time, where I was like, hey, this is 100% what you're going to be getting. My faces now, these are my shows. This is my style. I didn't know it yet. Yeah. And now I kind of got robbed of that. Well, we all did, unfortunately.
Sure.
For the time being, and there are alternatives, so maybe I'll look into that once we have some singles. If that's something that people want to see, then we could totally work that out.
Yeah. Right. Danny and I at this point have interviewed a few artists, and I think the common trend is everybody's terrified of the first few shows. Even if that your songs are good or whatever, just having hundreds of people stare at you and
Yeah.
you never having that kind of attention, and the songs being personal to you too. So if you're like, if this shit sucks, it's almost like an attack on your own identity.
Absolutely. And I think like, especially, and with someone in my case where the songs are so close to me, again, because that's my process. So it's really putting yourself on blast. Like almost every song I have, there's, as fun as some of them are, there's always connections. So again, if someone doesn't like that, they might not know how deep you're gonna, it's just, it's kind of easing yourself into it too. So no, I haven't done a show. I would love to. You know, that's another, it reminds me of a few other things I should have said, was just like a music video is another thing. We were talking about that the other day. There's a really great photographer, videographer, Alexander Cyprian. I'd have to figure out his tag, but he's all over Angelo's stuff. And on Daly's actually. And he's a really great, he's a talented dude. So I'm looking forward to doing something with him in the future. So you can look out for that as well.
Dope. You guys going out to Saint Tropez?
Maybe we might have to just do it, man. We might have to just do it. Yeah, I mean, there's some other stuff coming up though too that I had some concepts for in my own head too. Not saying I'm a director or anything of that sort by any means, but just some cool ideas that I want to try to see through. So yeah, and that's the thing too. Like that's the aspect of it. You meet these other people, and if I wasn't doing music, I wouldn't know these guys.
Right.
So it just pushes you to, like, you take that momentum on your backpack a little bit, and you're like, let's just keep running with this, and just look at all the things that can come from it, right? And even if I don't walk away with an extra $1, what did I learn about myself through all this and people around me, you know, through every high and low? So I'm just trying to enjoy the ride, man.
For sure.
Nice, man.
So obviously you're not a director, but you seem to have a lot of pride in your writing ability, or like the process of writing. Do you ever see yourself, like, do you always want to be the artist, or would you even think about, or has that popped in your head of like actually writing for other people?
No, I've thought about it. It's tricky for me because I can condone it. I think it's fine. I get it. It's a creative process. I think people should be able to do that. At the same time, I wouldn't take lyric. I'm very stubborn with it. Like I write all of my own stuff, but I don't hate on people that don't. It's just, I don't know. It's a creative process. I would definitely help out. I mean, I have with artists, just here and there little things. So yeah, I wouldn't turn it down necessarily, but just on the other end, it's not something that I would have come my way.
Okay. And then I guess in that same topic though, is there anything else, like, just say for whatever reason, like the artist part of it doesn't work out for whatever reason, like it's going to, but if it doesn't, is there something else in music you could see yourself do? Yeah, I don't know, man. You know what? It would probably be that. It's the writing for me. It always has been. I mean, Angelo is a genius. Like almost every other thing that's put into that, he helps out with and contributes most of it. It's a lot of his hard work. But the writing is mine. You can't take that. So I mean, that's my thing, right? And I make sure that I plug in and I you know, bring what I promised to deliver. So if it wasn't my own writing coming through the microphone, or from my voice, it would be, I would work with other artists for sure. I wouldn't want to lose that because I'd be sitting at home writing. What else am I going to do? Right. Might as well get paid for it.
Doing it anyhow. Yeah. So it's what I meant to do. That's it.
Awesome.
And do you, I mean, I know a lot of people nowadays especially refer to themselves as artists because, like, who are in hip hop because, you know, on one song you might rap, the next one you might do more of like a melodic singing type thing. For you yourself, do you consider yourself more of a rapper, more of a singer? Do you care, or you just prefer the artist label? Yeah,
the artist for sure. I am a little picky about it. And like, I get that it can be said out of, like, someone who's not really deeply plugged in with hip hop might hear something that's loose hip hop, be like, oh, that guy's got a rap song, he's a rapper, and that's cool. But I think in my own mind, it kind of boxes in what you're able to do. So no, I always went with artists. There's actually a line in one of my songs that's coming out that addresses that, like, right off the hop, you know.
Really?
Just so yeah, no, that's what I mean too. Like, the stuff that I think about, I try to incorporate into that, right? Like, into my actual writing right off the jump. So Yeah. I got sidetracked. I'm excited for you guys to hear that song now.
I know. So
Nice.
like, drop it now. Like, push the button. Miguel, push the button.
Yeah.
So question, because Blair and I were talking offline about this, like, obviously your friends and family hear more of your stuff because obviously you're still, going about putting your stuff out in a different manner. But like, what comparisons do you even hear yourself? Like, oh, I kind of sound like this person, or have there been comparisons you've gotten from your friends who listen to your stuff? I'm like, oh, like I never heard that one before. Because to us, it seems, at least now, these 3 songs seem very unique, and like you have your own sound, which obviously I'm sure is the goal. But what comparison have you heard about yourself?
I've heard the Drake one. I feel like it's used a lot, especially with Canadian music, which it's great. Sure. It's a great compliment. I take it as a full compliment. But even from some people that are a little deeper involved in music making themselves have said that. And I think just certain writing styles and stuff, and it's natural. I think there's probably a level of influence there, obviously. So, sure. But I mean, other than that, I really haven't heard too many other comparisons in general. I haven't heard many. That was a one-off that someone had told me, and I remember that when you asked. But no, I kind of like that. Like, I mean, me and Ange,
like, good thing, right?
You'll bug me and you'll go, we gotta make another BOA, like a BOA banger and this, and then and I'm like, that's cool though, like, because I know what he's talking about. So that's kind of the goal in itself, is to have your own. So
your own sound, yeah, for sure.
And you don't do you ever find yourself like getting in the zone and I don't know, you have a certain sound you want to emulate but not necessarily sound like that person? Like, oh, I heard this, I'm not gonna use his name for the 5th time, but I heard this let's say like Travis Scott track, and I don't want to copy him, but I want to make a song that brings this same vibe from that artist, like for this song. Like, do you ever get in that mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, for sure. And I've even gotten plugged in and kind of I'm just writing and it's going and I'm like, okay, and I'm rolling with it. And then I'll look back at it after and there's like, not subconsciously, like the same kind of punchline that someone else has used. I'm like, oh man, I can't roll with that now. I got to do something else. I want it to be unique, but I won't even notice it. Because, like, you know what I mean? There's that level of influence where I'm like, okay, I kind of want to have those vibes. And then all of a sudden I have a different beat, different flows, different editing, everything. And all of a sudden there's those sneaky bars getting in there that sound like from what I was trying to grab my inspiration from to begin with. I mean, I'll explain to Miguel certain kind of vibes and feels as opposed to like, hey, get me a Travis Scott type beat or you know what I mean? So I'll kind of tell him, hey, like, I'll even tell him a lot of the time what's going on, if what I'm writing about or what I want the song to be about, or he'll already know. And it's not even a lot of conversation at that point. We kind of go through the startup process, what that is for us, and more times than not, luckily enough, it works out for us. We got a really good chemistry, me and him. So
that's sick, nice. Dude. For sure. I'm sure, like, especially like you were, like you said, like probably the rebranding that everything happens if you and him don't even connect again, right? Like, you're probably not even coming back.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah. And yeah, and credit where it's due, because I never really looked at it from that perspective, but for sure, because it was, like I said, he was way on my case about getting back into it when, the opportunity kind of, the time freed up and everything like that to get back into it. So I thank him for that. But yeah, no, I don't know. It would be a different picture altogether if I was back without him. But
so, question, going even further back though, because I know you say you're 28. So, what was the initial? Because you said your family has a bunch of different musical inspirations, but what was the thing that made you pick hip hop?
Man, I still remember the first rap song I ever heard, and it was like, and it's hilarious because it's not a big song at all, but it was just the timing, and I'm like, I'm cool with this. Like, and it was Dope Man Money by Young Buck, and it was off some spin-off tape that I'm telling you, man, but it's a great song. It was like the DJ Who Kid and like LeBron James's face was on like the mixtape cover. Like, I was like, okay, like, where have I been? Like, all right, I don't know what made it click. But yeah, I remember a lot of the early influences and stuff like that. But I don't know, it's tough because even before I was writing like your quote unquote hip hop like type bars and stuff like that, I was writing when I was in elementary school. I was doing like poetry, or I was writing whatever kind of structure of what it was, small stories. Like writing was my thing. So hard to say where it crossed over, when it crossed over rather into rap necessarily, or hip hop or whatever have you. It's always kind of been there.
Nice. Blair, what was your first song that like, I want to do this shit?
Yeah.
That made me want to do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was the song "The Coolest" by Lupe. It didn't make me necessarily want to rap it, but it made me want to write like poetry more seriously. And then eventually, I slowly began recording myself. So I had GarageBand, and I would just make like super weak ass beats with like the default loops that come with it. And then I would like randomly just yell like a word into the mic and like play with the echo effects and stuff. And then I would rap other people's lyrics, and then eventually like built the confidence to do my own stuff, which I can't listen to anymore. I found some old, like my first 2 songs sound so embarrassing. I'm like, I don't even think it was me. Like that's how
I was
Is it like watching like a drunk video of yourself the night before? You're like, oh
Basically.
my god, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah, but my friends told me it was like the dopest shit ever because they didn't like really rap at all. So to them it was like impressive, but to me it was trash.
Yeah, God bless those people too. The ones that you could make a song like about doing nothing. They're like, yo, I just gave it to my grandma. Like she's showing everything. Like, it's fired up, man. It's got 60 views. Like, yeah. So shout out to those people. Keep you going, but.
For sure.
I was thinking on that note, even trying to jump into my archives and see if I could find them. There was one that I know that we were talking about like way back in the day. We were throwing, it was like some dinky YouTube beat, probably like, throwing it back and forth, trying to get something going. That'll be another one for me too. You can put that down. Me and Blair finally get that going. It's long overdue. So.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Need that exclusive drop on all your 3 podcasts, of course. So you, bro, what top five hip hop acts for you? What are they?
I hate that they're gonna be so predictable, man. I hate that.
No, it's fine. We get it, Drake. We get it.
Drizzy,
and Drake's and everybody.
You know what though? I'll be here all night, like thinking through like hundreds of artists that deserve that shit.
Sure.
So, Drake's gonna be number 1. And are you talking about any kind of genre?
Yeah, it could be anyone. Really.
It could be anything,
like
bro.
top 5
top
artists.
5 for you. Yeah.
No, you know what? Because that's gonna take us all night. So we're gonna stick with hip hop. Yeah, you know what? Drake, Tory, Bryson Tiller, and again, I know that these are a lot of Angelo's similars too, but again,
it kind of makes sense though, right? You guys are the same vibe.
Yeah. There's a few. You know what? Jeezy was a huge one for me. He was probably like my first like favorite rapper.
Really?
Nice. It was just a timing thing. It was probably going from Young Buck, then bounced over to that, and I was like, this is great. Like I was all in that zone, all into rap, and first get into it. But yeah, like,
did they allow the snowman T-shirt in schools in Canada or no?
Oh man, no, they don't let that. You have to get mad if you do that. Yeah, no, but like, yeah, sorry, that just took me back too. So yeah, no, Jeezy would be on there too. It's going to be a weird one to say too, but Trey Songz, and I know it's totally different than the other ones, but again, like just talking about huge influences for what I would get from listening to his music. And you know what, I don't feel bad about saying it either, is probably Chris Brown, because they both go way, way, way back with just kind of getting influence from that as well too. So I don't know if that's 5, but I'm going to stop there because we're going to, like I said, we're going to get into
Drake, Jeezy, Songs, Brown. Did you say a 4th?
One more?
I think one more, yeah.
Did I say Tory?
Trey. You said
Tory's
Tory,
your top 5?
Trey.
Okay, dope. All right.
Yeah.
Tory. We're big Tory fans. I don't know if you listen to some of the episodes. Yeah. We're big Tory fans. So like we have his back every fucking week on this one.
Yeah. Dude, I remember listening to his stuff when he was like, all due respect to him, but he was like buck teeth with the fedora and the wooden beads.
Yeah.
Like, he was like all over with that. And like the Konnichiwa was coming out. Like we were playing that when I was like high school. Like, man, I remember when he was, I showed my brother like because he knows Tory, like New Toronto going forward, right? So that image, that low, and heavy. So I was showing him like some of the old stuff, and he's like, I'm like, that's your boy. Like, look, and I'm like, what's going on? So yeah, no, but Tory's a big one too. Again, I've just been following him from so long ago, and and I fall in love with those like Do Not Disturb, on Drake's side, Letter to the City too, Tory Lane's side, like those kind of songs just hit me different. They always have. So when they're done well, I really click with that.
Dope.
Nice, man.
It's a good top five. Good top five. Nice little. Yeah. I like Jeezy being in top five. That's dope.
Yeah. I don't know how them all collaborating. Some of those artists with the other ones in that pile might not sound too harmonious, but I mean.
Do you have any like just general advice? I know you're still obviously, you know, bouncing back and rebranding and stuff, but like general advice for the listeners who might be thinking about pursuing music or not knowing how to get started or find their, you know, Angelo and team to work with. Like, what would you say to them?
I would just say do it, man. It's for the longest time I had something that I loved, and I love you more now that I've been able to show it off on a different kind of platform, as big or small as that may be. But just do it. Like, you know, it's like the saying, like, if you don't ask, you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, if you know, the worst case, you're back where you started. So just, if it's something that you think is worth the time and energy, give it that, and give it your all, right? Like, you know, that way if you can walk away from it happy, sad, satisfied, but you put everything into it. That's what it was with me. For the longest time, I kind of sat on it and was like, oh, I don't know what people are going to say and this and that. And it's, if you know what, if you allow yourself to fall in love with it on a deeper level, none of that, those voices get real quiet. You don't hear it.
Right.
So, you know, just do it, man. Just do what you love. Put it out there. Proud of it.
And whose feedback would you say is most valuable? Because some might argue their friends and family are biased. Some might argue the fans are the ones who ultimately, you know, make the artists who they are in terms of growth. Some people say, fuck the fans, you know, they don't really matter. Like, they're just there to consume the song and be gone. So, like, obviously Angelo knows what he's doing and everything, but do you try to find a balance between, like, okay, well, I know Angelo's my partner in this, but this random kid said this song is whack, so, like, I kind of value his opinion, you know, just as much. Like, how do you go about that now?
Value behind it, kind of.
Yeah.
It's, you know what, I would take the criticism. I don't know if it's necessarily a plus or a minus, but having a small circle, like I've been fortunate enough to hear pretty much all, and again, it's been great. I'm grateful for it, but I've heard good things about the music we put out. People are liking it. Obviously there's a few people that think you should, change this or do this, or and I try to hear them out at least. But I mean, as long as it was a intelligent comment, I would approach it as such. Yeah. If they tell me to pick up a violin and start dancing or something, I'm not going to pay too much attention to it. But if it's if they have like a genuine kind of thing to say, then yeah, I'll hear them out. Sure, absolutely.
Nice.
That's how you build.
Right.
For sure. And one question for me before we get out of here as well. I know the concerts are hopefully coming back soon with the vaccine and all that stuff. So, like, what's a show that, like, or an act that you're like, before you die, like, I got to see this person live?
Oh man, yeah, that's a deep one. Before I die.
Damn, I didn't mean to say die.
Yeah.
Before the next COVID wave. Yeah.
Someone I'm excited to see, and someone definitely on my bucket list, is Travis. I would love to feel that atmosphere. And you know what? Even probably more so before him, judging on being a fan of his, is Tory, and the energy I've seen from those concerts. And I had a couple things lined up, and each time they didn't go through. So. No, I have to make that happen. If I swear to God, if they open it up for like 3 days and he has one in that period,
we're out. That's dope.
Just he goes crowd surfing and all that stuff. So yeah, no, that.
Yeah, so we saw that. So Blair and I were lucky enough to see Tory in Miami a couple years ago.
For real, yeah.
And he did the same thing, like walking on the crowd and people like holding him and everything.
Climbing up the walls. It's crazy.
Yeah, just nuts. I think for me, it's actually I think maybe for you, Blair, but for me, it's Drake. Like, I haven't seen Drake yet. I saw Travis 2 years ago, and he brought Drake out for like sicko mode, but that was like 2 minutes. You know, like I need to see like a full Drake set.
That would be interesting for me because I've seen Drake twice.
Nice.
Once was, I think it was the second OVO Fest when it was whatever one he brought Stevie Wonder out. because I got to see Stevie Wonder come out.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Oh, wow.
And then the other one was at the Air Canada Center, and we went backstage and stuff. But it would be interesting to see him as a feature at another artist. Like, I haven't seen that perspective of it.
It was cool. It was just so short. It was a tease, and like he literally ended the show with that. I'm like, what the fuck? Do more.
That's crazy. No, they both put on. I mean, Travis, I've seen again footage, and they just people just lose their minds.
They're
just so in love with the moment and being there, and just every part of it that they just. It's crazy. I want to see what that's like.
So, Blair, is it Drake for you as well, or who else did you want to like really see?
Probably Drake.
Top of it?
And I've had like a couple opportunities, but I think like it might have been that one tour he was doing with Future or whatever. Tickets were like $1,000, something crazy for like nosebleed seats, not even like a dope ass view of everything. So it hasn't worked out so far, but he doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. So I'm sure I'll have an opportunity within the next few years.
All right, man. So, BOA, anything you want to let us know before we get out of here? Obviously, music on the way. Let us know like what to keep looking out for over the coming months.
Yeah, man. Just more music. Like I said, album is definitely something that we're going to be talking a lot more seriously about. Probably, I'm going to have a couple more singles come out still, and then we're gonna look into that. I'm psyched for it. That's going to be a big thing. Again, I can't tell you which song, but we are going to do a video to one of the ones that's already released. Yeah.
Please do Saint-Tropez. Please do.
Yeah. Well, we're considering that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to keep it. But we're looking into that too. So yeah, no, just a lot of stuff, man. It's cool. This is like the fun stage for me now. I'm just getting to try out the other stuff that's outside of the studio for the music. So. Yeah, no, it's been a learning experience, and I'm happy to keep going with it and see what people think.
Nice, man. Yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure having you.
Appreciate
Can't wait to see what new songs you have coming out, and then for us to actually collab on something.
You gotta make it happen.
For sure. Same as you. I'm just happy to get back into it. I have a couple tracks that I'm finalizing, but I'm sure whatever we put out will be a banger. So
100%.
That'll be dope. And then obviously for the listeners, we'll put BOA's links to his music in the description on YouTube, so you could check him out through that. And as far as Audio Theory goes, catch us audio-theory.com. We're on all major streaming platforms. If you're an artist and you have a story you'd like to broadcast on our platform, reach out to us and we'll be happy to set something up. But again, really appreciate you, man. We'll definitely chat offline, but
Yeah,
best of luck with everything.
Appreciate it, boys. Same to you. Thanks
Peace,
for having me.
man. Take care.
Take care.